Hey everyone, What If Fan here, bringing you another exciting part of What If Fusion Deck User in a different Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name on my Patreon page. Make sure to check it out and show them some love. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 41, The Black Dragon That Burns Away Life. The effect of Scatter Fusion can only be used once per turn, and it's only activatable when the opponent has a monster on the field. You can send the materials required for a non-rock type Gem Knight Fusion monster from your deck to the graveyard to fusion summon a fusion monster from the extra deck. After this effect is activated, until the end of the turn, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except for Gem Knight Fusion monsters. Hikaru opened his extra deck and revealed a tall and valiant knight. Then, he sent Prismora and a yellow Peridot from his deck to the graveyard. Brilliant diamonds slowly descended from the sky, accompanied by a steady cracking sound as an evolved Captain Crystal made his dazzling entrance in a lightning strike. Gem Knight Prismora, level 7 Earth Thunder 2450 ATK. Leave it to me, Lord Hikaru. Prismora swung his massive lance, manifesting in this world for the first time. I switch Labyrinth Tank to attack position. Labyrinth Tank, ATK, 2400. Battle. Prismora, attack Red Ice Black Dragon. TCH. Darkness let out a cold snort. At the moment, Crystal's noble 50 ATK advantage demonstrated its value. This is Yu-Gi-Oh! A single point of ATK is enough to dominate. Although 2400 and 2450 differ by only 50 points, Prismora could still suppress and pummel Red Ice Black Dragon. The fire, Red Ice Black Dragon was shattered into pieces, falling into the magma below. Darkness, LP, 3500-3450. Next, Labyrinth Tank, direct attack. The wheels and spikes of the modern, stylish combat vehicle began spinning wildly. At Hikaru's command, it rammed straight into Darkness with full force. Darkness, LP, 3450-1050. Aha! Darkness was struck by the powerful drilling tank and sent flying. He bounced a few times on the blue energy floor before barely landing at the edge. He struggled to stand up, his clothes tattered, and blood started to seep from his body. That was quite the pain. It seems your spirit power is not weak either. Hikaru raised an eyebrow. Why hasn't he used his set card yet? He found it odd. A set card that couldn't be used, what kind of card was it? He glanced at his own set card, a trap card Salamandra with chains. Since he hadn't drawn any cards related to Flame Swordsman or any fire monster, it had just been sitting there, and used. And what about Darkness? Alright, with this, we've seriously reduced Darkness's life points. Alexis let out a sigh of relief on the sidelines, her inner tension and unease resembling that of thunder giants striking waves. A shadow duel, such a thing was still too surreal for an ordinary schoolgirl. I activate the effect of Over Future Fusion again, revealing Flame Wingman and sending Avian from my deck to the graveyard. Hikaru hadn't forgotten to continue compressing his deck using Over Future Fusion's effect. I end my turn. Though he had fallen into a disadvantage, Darkness showed no signs of worry or fear. Instead, he started laughing maniacally. You've made me feel pain. Is he already going crazy? Hikaru thought. That didn't sound like Atticus at all. Was he pulling a Zane Truesdale act? My turn, draw. I activate the spell card, Pot of Greed, drawing 2 cards from my deck. He glanced at his draw, then laughed again. I flip my set card, Call of the Haunted. Why Call of the Haunted? Alexis immediately sensed something was off. If it was this card, why didn't he use it during the previous battle phase? Even if Labyrinth Tank and Red Ice Black Dragon had the same ATK, it was unlikely that he would let them destroy each other, right? Besides, even if they did, he wouldn't have lost much. He could have even preserved 2,400 life points. Hikaru frowned, observing. Life points didn't matter as long as they didn't hit 0. Saving the more crucial cards and executing deeper strategies and exchanges was the mindset of a wise duelist. From this perspective, Darkness had been willing to endure the pain and preserve his Red Ice Black Dragon. That was indeed something reminiscent of Joey Wheeler back in the day. The monster I'm reviving is, of course, Red Ice Black Dragon. Next, I activate the spell card, Inferno Fire Blast. A second one. Unlike before, Hikaru had no fusion guard to protect him. He immediately shouted for Alexis to step back while he raised his arms to shield himself. Ha ha ha. Vengeful Dragon, let your blazing fire incinerate the enemy. Black Fire Bullet. Red Ice Black Dragon gathered energy into one point and then unleashed a massive black fireball. I'll block it. Prismora lived up to his title. Even though he was merely one manifestation of Crystal's long saga, Gem Knight Prismora still leaped out unflinchingly, transforming into a phantom covering Hikaru. Powered by his gemstones and body, he shielded Hikaru from the scorching flames, protecting him from the searing heat. Hikaru, LP, 41,600. Ugh. Even with Prismora's protection, Hikaru still dropped to one knee, feeling a searing pain spread across his body. He could faintly smell something burning. It wasn't from the volcanic magma, but his uniform was scorched. Thank you, Captain. Alexis, seeing her classmate's unfortunate state, realized the true terror of a shadow duel. It made her even more aware of the danger of this match. Hikaru, are you all right? She hurried over, trying to help him up, momentarily forgetting about any reservations. Don't come over. Hikaru shouted. The duel wasn't over yet. After activating Inferno Fire Blast, Red Ice Black Dragon cannot attack. However, I tribute Red Ice Black Dragon to special summon Red Ice Darkness Dragon. Grower. The flames surrounding the Black Dragon intensified, heating its scales to a metallic sheen. When it reappeared, it had completely transformed into something else. This card can only be special summoned by tributing Red Ice Black Dragon, and for each dragon monster in my graveyard, it gains 300 ATK. Red Ice Darkness Dragon. Level 90 ARK Dragon 2400 3000 ATK. It's actually on par with Blue Eyes White Dragon. Alexis gasped. An ATK of 3000 was a significant benchmark in Yu-Gi-Oh! A monster with the same ATK as Blue Eyes White Dragon was nearly an insurmountable obstacle for ordinary duelists. Battle. Red Ice Darkness Dragon, take down that self-righteous Dimensional Knight. Darkness, who could clearly see spirits, extended a finger and arrogantly pointed at Prismora, commanding his Dark Dragon. Darkness Dragon roared and charged at Prismora, shattering it with a powerful strike. Ugh! Hikaru felt as if his stomach had been pierced, letting out a groan while coughing up blood. Hikaru, LP, 1610.50. Hikaru! Alexis rushed over to support him, preventing his collapse. Now both of our LPs are equal. Darkness laughed as he set a card. I set one card and end my turn. Hikaru took a deep breath. After resting for a moment, he said, "Thank you, Alexis," then let go of her hand, bracing himself as he looked firmly at Darkness. My turn, draw. He glanced at the card he drew and smirked. Here it is. As expected, it was finally time to use this. I activate the continuous spell, Flame Sword's Realm. Are you sure about this? Upon seeing the card, Darkness smirked, suddenly asking, What? Hikaru wiped the sweat from his forehead and looked up at Darkness. Ha. Or perhaps, you're more familiar with this voice? Darkness turned to Alexis and suddenly spoke in a calm voice. Alexis? Alexis was struck as if by lightning. That familiar, casual tone, that voice, wait, that figure. Darkness spread his arms wide, leaving himself completely open, still wearing a smile as he chuckled. The owner of this body seems to be called Atticus Rhodes? Are you sure you want to continue? What the, no way. Hikaru's eyes widened, and his hands froze, stunned in place. It wasn't a mind-controlled, amnesiac Atticus Rhodes, or Dark Atticus. It was the real Darkness. The final boss of all of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. Damn it! Chapter 42, I'm going to become the strongest fusion duelist in the multiverse. Darkness, literally translated, just means darkness. But in the world of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, it's not just a noun, it's a real, living being. Its true form is a six-winged, goat-headed demon that embodies the law of the world, darkness. Its actual identity? Humanity's future downfall. That's right. Its very existence is the end of humanity. In terms of power, no early game character even comes close to matching it. Actually, even in the late game, no one can really touch this thing. With abilities like brainwashing, erasing existence, reading memories, rewriting memories, and absolutely zero shame, it stands unchallenged. Even Jaden Yuki only avoided being brainwashed and thrown into the shadow world because, by that point, he had two souls in one body, which kept him safe. This brings up something that many people might misunderstand. In the world of Yu-Gi-Oh!, duels don't decide everything. You have to first survive the energy clash. If you can't withstand it, you'll be obliterated before you even get to play a card. In the original series, as well as GX, 5Ds, Zexal, the trend is clear: supernatural threats can't kill people, so they use dark duels, which definitely can. Also, originally, Atticus was brainwashed by darkness due to an accident, lost his memory, and started calling himself Darkness. He became one of the Shadow Riders, aiming to unseal the sacred beasts. It wasn't until 2 years later, when the world began to change drastically, that he sought to recover his lost memories and asked Jaden for help. In the end, he came to understand that the world was truly on the brink of destruction. Seems like because of how things are diverging into alternate dimensions, the final boss decided to drop an early using an alt account. Hikaru frowned and looked toward Alexis. She looked extremely conflicted, completely torn. Seeing this, Hikaru wasn't surprised at all. Sure, Darkness acts all high and mighty, like some unbeatable final boss later on, but why do fans call him the most embarrassing boss? Simple, because he's shameless to the core. In the story, plenty of characters who dueled him actually had a chance at victory. Take Axel Brody for example, he could have won. But Darkness manipulated his memories, made him believe he killed his mother, and caused him to suffer in agony. This thing? Nothing it does is surprising anymore. Alexis, are you really going to sit back and watch your brother fall again without lifting a finger? Darkness placed a hand on his chest. You saw it, didn't you? Alexis felt the world was spinning, her body wobbling. Yes. I did. Back then, her brother walked into that dimensional gate and never returned. It was an unknown space. Why didn't she stop him? But, why didn't I remember this until now? If you had stopped him, your brother could have come back. You understand that, right? Darkness lowered his voice. No matter what method you used. Alexis clutched her head, trembling all over, and looked at Hikaru with pained eyes. Hikaru clicked his tongue. Figures. In the original, Alexis got pulled in when Jaden was transported. Now, the reason Alexis is even here is that he planned it. I activate the effect of Flame Sword's realm. Hikaru was completely unfazed, revealing a card from his hand. I send Ancient Gear Knight from my hand to the graveyard to fusion summon Flame Swordsman. Wait, Hikaru. Please, Alexis reacted on instinct. She jumped forward and clutched his arm, pleading desperately. Rhodes. You know this is a shadow game. Yes. Alexis looked so fragile now. But there must be another way. There has to be. That's my brother's body. She was about to drop to her knees and say, I'll do anything. Hikaru yanked her back up. Listen, Rhodes. This is a shadow game. The soul of the loser will be sealed inside a card. I know that. Then haven't you realized yet? Realized? That's your brother's body. Darkness's expression turned impatient as he called out, "Alexis? Do you want this bastard to keep controlling your brother, hurting others, turning you into his pawn, and stopping the next person who tries to duel him? Or do you want me to take him out right now, seal his soul in a card, and save your brother's body? Even if the body's battered and broken, it's better than having it stolen, right?" Alexis wiped the tears from her eyes. Her gaze regained clarity before the fog of darkness that had clouded her mind began to fade, and she returned to being the proud elite of Obelisk Blue. She let go of Hikaru's hand, turned around, and slapped herself hard twice, forcing herself to stay sharp. "I understand now, Hikaru. Please, you have to defeat it. Please, bring my brother back." She wiped away her tears with determination. Then, maybe to ease the awkwardness from before, she blushed and nodded, adding, "Even if you have to beat my brother up a bit, it's fine. It is his fault for leaving without a word." Looks like she finally shook off the mind control and made her own choice. Hikaru shook his head. This darkness, its clone abilities are still lacking. Otherwise, there's no way she would have snapped out of it so quickly. "Don't worry. You little." Darkness's face darkened completely. "A girl was clinging to your arm, and you were thinking about something else? As a master of romance, I'm offended. He's still pretending to be Atticus. What nonsense." Hikaru raised an eyebrow. "I'm going to be the strongest fusion duelist in all dimensions. Romance just gets in the way." Silence. I activate the effect of future fusion. I send Burstinatrix from my deck to the graveyard. Then, I activate Miracle Fusion. I banish Burstinatrix and Avian from my graveyard to fusion summon elemental hero, Flame Wingman. But my monster still has higher ATK. Flame Swordsrealm's effect: when a warrior-type monster attacks, you can reduce another warrior's ATK by 1000 and raise the ATK of all other monsters by 1000. This is it. Flame Wingman, attack. Flame Wingman leapt into the air and charged at Red Ice Darkness Dragon. Darkness clicked his tongue and slammed down a card. Even so, I can still win. I activate the trap card, Metalmorph. This card equips to one monster and increases its ATK by 300 points. Ha! Seeing that card, Hikaru laughed. Sure, Darkness had supernatural powers beyond imagination. But he had one huge weakness. Why did he always rely on cheap tricks during duels? Because he seriously sucks at playing the game. What's even the point of setting that card? Then I activate my trap card, Salamandra with Chain. This card can also be used as an equip spell on a fire monster. I equip it to Flame Swordsman. And with its effect, I flip your Red Ice Darkness Dragon face down. The dragon, just about to get a power-up, was caught off guard. A chain yanked it down as it was flipped face down, reduced to a faded card. TCH. In the blazing inferno, Darkness's face twisted into a cold sneer. Amagi Hikaru, was it? I won't forget you. Boom. Darkness, LP, 1050. Big brother. Alexis saw the glowing floor panel begin to fade and shouted in panic. The next moment, a flash of white light scattered. By the time Hikaru regained his senses, he was already back at the beach near the academy. Hikaru! Rhodes! Several classmates and teachers who came looking for them due to the key rushed over. Alexis ran to her brother, knelt beside him, and was relieved to find he was still breathing. Cunning, devious, full of dirty tricks, terrible at dueling, but at least Darkness kept its word. Hikaru smiled and stretched. In the distance, dawn was breaking. Even if it was just a clone, a duel against someone of that caliber should yield a good amount of energy, right? Sure enough, he could feel a warm current building inside. Heh, thanks for the wait, huh? Wait a second. His body started burning up, getting hotter and hotter until it was boiling. Even just a clone, Darkness's energy was too much. He staggered. Hikaru! Thud. Just before passing out, one final thought ran through his head, at least. I can try printing a card again. Chapter 43, Battery. Professor, how's Amaji doing? In a haze, Hikaru seemed to hear a girl's voice. Even Amaji went down? Guess that proves it, shadow duels really are dangerous. That was an overly dramatic male voice. Shadow duel. Hikaru struggled to open his eyes and look toward the bedside. I already told you, Amaji just fainted from extreme exhaustion. Shadow duel? Are you kids seriously still believing in that kind of thing? The school nurse in charge stood with one hand on their hip, clearly baffled by the students' beliefs. Well. Bastion looked unsure how to respond, but before he could say anything, Jaden had already noticed Hikaru waking up and leapt to his side. His brow was furrowed, and gone was the usual carefree smile. He looked unusually sharp and serious as he asked, Hikaru, how do you feel? See? I told you all to keep it down. Now you've gone and woken the patient. The nurse scolded them with a frown. Hikaru rubbed his head, slowly regaining clarity. He felt a bit parched. Glancing around, it was Alexis, ever attentive, who reacted first and handed him a glass of water. Thanks. Hikaru took a sip. I'm all right. Nothing too serious, I think. As he drank, Hikaru quickly pieced together what had happened. He knew his own condition better than anyone. He hadn't fainted from damage taken during a shadow duel. Sure, it hurt like hell, but his body had already been enhanced by super polymerization, and when he took that direct hit from fire, Captain Crystal had shielded him. The pain was nowhere near as bad as what Joey Wheeler suffered from Ra's flames. It shouldn't have knocked him out. What knocked him out was the sheer volume of fusion energy. Even if darkness was using an alt, it was still a manifestation of ultimate darkness. That kind of energy, even partially absorbed, was enough to overwhelm him. Of course, he couldn't tell anyone that. Getting Ice-Guide into this world and even having an actual super polymerization card, there was no way he could casually explain any of that. What about your brother, Rhodes? The nurse said his injuries weren't too serious. He'll need a bit of recovery time, but then he'll be fine. Alexis still seemed a little shaken. She couldn't understand it, why she'd done those things she'd never do under normal circumstances. How could she have hurt others, just for her brother's sake? Once Jaden was sure Hikaru was okay, he breathed a sigh of relief, then turned to the others with a serious expression. All right, everyone, let's go. Let Hikaru get some rest. His voice was firm, totally unlike his usual self. The classmates who had come to check on Hikaru exchanged glances and, realizing there was no need to stay any longer, all nodded. Rest up, Hikaru. Bastion had even brought a gift, which Hikaru politely accepted. Though they all wanted to know more about the shadow duel, they figured they could always ask Alexis later. They left behind some fruit and followed Jaden out. Still, their expressions were somber. Even Hikaru couldn't handle the power of a shadow duel without collapsing. What about the rest of them? Especially Jaden, his heart was weighed down with responsibility as he walked faster and faster, ignoring Cyrus calling out from behind. Once everyone else had gone, Alexis remained behind, as a caretaker, perhaps? She was incredibly grateful to Hikaru for saving her brother. Zane had Cyrus to take care of him, so she wasn't worried there. Jaden and Bastion had both offered to help, but Alexis had insisted on staying. Rhodes, you don't need to feel guilty about what happened. Hikaru reached for his dual disc, took out his deck, and glanced at her. If I'm not wrong, that guy had some sort of memory reading or mind control ability. Otherwise, he couldn't have imitated your brother so perfectly or known things only the two of you would know. As he spoke, Hikaru started shuffling through his deck quickly, checking each card one by one. Midway through, his eyes lit up. Winda, halfway complete already. That was way faster than he expected. Even more surprising, his deck now included an 8-star fusion monster, Meteor Black Dragon. Wait, this thing's useless, isn't it? No. It's useful. He suddenly remembered something. Ha! Alexis blinked, then gave a faint smile. Thanks, Hikaru. I didn't expect you to be this good at comforting people. She still looked like she was wrestling with guilt. Oh well. Hikaru shrugged. What about that soul sealing card that guy mentioned? You brought it back, right? Ah, here. Alexis quickly dug it out and handed it over. Hikaru took the card. There was no text on it, only an image of Darkness's mask, bound in chains. In the original, Atticus could even use that thing on himself to transform into Dark Atticus and wield the Red Ice deck exclusive to Darkness. Basically, once mastered, it was like a Kamen Rider transformation device. But in his hands? Totally different. Hikaru's face lit up with excitement, making Alexis shudder unconsciously. She rubbed her arms. The grin on his face was too sinister, like someone who just stumbled across a weapon of mass destruction. Because, that's exactly what it was. This was a clone of Darkness. Just dueling it had released so much energy, so what about this card? To Hikaru, this wasn't a card. It was a battery. A Philosopher's Stone. Material for super polymerization. Hell, it might even help him forge Red Ice Black Dragon itself. Hikaru stayed in the infirmary for 2 days. After confirming there were no lingering issues, he was finally discharged. The moment he got out, he raced straight back to his dorm to begin his grand alchemy. 4 days, with the help of several spirits, Hikaru worked tirelessly to forge new cards. And in that time, he confirmed several things. First, he really could print cards using super polymerization. His spirit energy still wasn't that strong, but with effort and a little help from Darkness, he was finally seeing results. He now had hope. Second, if he tried to perform targeted fusions on his own, the result would always be low-level monsters. When he tried to fuse bigger ones, Alchemist would stop him, calling it suicide. So for now, he had to let super polymerization handle it randomly. Third, handcrafting cards was freaking awesome. Looking at the newly created Predaplin Clemento-Sundu, crafted from all his saved materials, Hikaru couldn't be prouder. Even if the card was totally useless, now Hikaru could truly call himself an alchemist. One day, he'd craft the Philosopher's Stone with his bare hands. He was practically giddy with excitement. And this was just the first of the 7 Shadow Riders, there were 6 more to go. Chapter 44, Kamula. Hikaru, the teacher is really happy to see you back in class, meow. A new day. Professor Ba. Nurse saw Hikaru return to class and greeted him with a smile. Feeling better? Ah, I'm fine now, Professor. Hikaru responded energetically. Then, without further delay, come, Hikaru. Banner gestured toward the platform. Today we're doing the pulverization experiment, meow. You can try it yourself. In front of the whole class, Banner directly changed the original lesson plan and had Hikaru take the stage. He guided Hikaru through the process, clearly giving him special treatment. One of the principles of alchemy is destruction and regeneration. Breaking materials down completely, then distilling or grinding them into components for crafting new materials, that is the goal of alchemy. The rest of the class was already used to this. Apart from Bastion still diligently memorizing everything, many students had basically given up on actually learning alchemy. Rather than trying to master the subject, it was more fun to watch what crazy chemistry experiments Professor Banner and Hikaru would do next. Campus life seemed unchanged. The fears Jaden had about losing classmates or friends because of shadow duels hadn't come to pass, or at least, not yet. Even in the original series, the Shadow Riders took a while to show up, and the gaps between their appearances weren't fixed intervals. During this period, Hikaru went to Professor Growler to apply for another ancient gear golem. His reasoning? The one he had mysteriously became the ultimate golem. Previously, Growler would have never believed in the supernatural. But after being attacked by Gem Knights in another dimension, learning about the sacred beasts from the principal, and hearing about the shadow duel incident from Alexis. Now, when he heard Hikaru's request, he was at least willing to half believe it. Besides, Growler had gained a lot of support from the principal by backing Hikaru as their poster student, so he was happy to oblige. After discovering an alternate dimension full of ancient gears, the Academy had obtained an increasing number of ancient gear cards. Handing one out through official channels to an Outstanding Student Award was easy enough. Of course, Hikaru didn't plan to just freeload cards. Since Growler had granted him such privileges, and considering Hikaru wanted to recruit him later as the faculty sponsor for his future Neo Fusion Club, he gave Growler an ancient gear fusion in exchange. That might be the most natural progression for a card game, trading and collecting. That day. Hey, did you hear? There's a Western-style mansion that suddenly appeared over the lake on the west side of the island. What? A mansion? Yeah. No one knows when it showed up. It might have just appeared overnight. I heard some students are already planning to go explore it. Maybe there's some vampire nobleman inside. Don't joke. I heard several students have been passing out recently. Maybe it was because of a popular TV show, but the girl seemed pretty excited. Wait a second, passing by, Jaden suddenly realized something. You can't do that. Ever since Hikaru's hospitalization, Jaden had developed a strong wariness toward shadow duels. Now sensing this could be a new threat, he hurriedly grabbed his two friends and rushed to the principal's office. There, Principal Shepard and the keykeepers discussed the situation and quickly concluded. A new enemy had arrived. Everyone rushed to the lake. At some point, a thick mist had settled, and a giant mansion sat alone in the center of the lake, its shape barely visible. As the group approached, a long red carpet unrolled from the mansion, completely ignoring the laws of physics, extending across the water to the shoreline. Is this an invitation? The students stared seriously at the red carpet. Hikaru instinctively stepped onto the carpet. The next moment, Jaden grabbed him back. Wait, Hikaru. You just recovered. You can't take part in this kind of duel. Yeah, Hikaru, Alexis chimed in. Let me. But before they could finish, there was a light thud. Missing from anyone's attention, Professor Growler had already stepped onto the red carpet. The students watched him in shock. As the only teacher present, he straightened his posture and cleared his throat. Ahem, as the only professor here, allow me to handle this duel. Professor. Bastion and Chaz stared in disbelief. Even Zane looked surprised. Was this really the same Growler? Wasn't he usually cowardly and sleazy? As expected of Professor Growler. A true role model. A teacher worthy of respect. Well, of course. Growler turned back around, coughed again, then stood up straight and declared solemnly, a red carpet is the path of gentlemen, which means it is the path for a proud noble like myself. Besides, I absolutely won't allow unknown thugs to harm my students within these school grounds. Hikaru clapped from the side. Lately, quite a few students had been attacked and rendered unconscious, supposedly by a vampire. So it made sense for the professor to say such things and even volunteer to go first. Then again, the building looked just like Hikaru remembered. Which meant this time's opponent was Camula, the Shadow Rider. In the original, Camula defeated Growler easily by peeking at his deck and hand ahead of time. She also possessed a card called Illusion Gate that could directly control someone's soul and wipe out all their monsters. However, the loser of a duel involving that card would have their soul sacrificed to the sacred beasts. Camula used her vampire powers to control Cyrus, making him a decoy. So Zane had no choice but to forfeit the duel, turning him into a doll. Thinking about that, Hikaru got a bit excited. The illusion was good. He could just force through with super polymerization and absorb the energy. That way, he wouldn't suffer, and he'd get a fusion monster too. Just as he thought this, several figures emerged from the red carpet. They all had similar features, pale skin, bat-like wings, dressed as butlers or maids, bowing respectfully toward Hikaru and the others. After them, a green-haired beauty walked forward with elegant steps. You are the key keepers? Ah, yes. Growler stood up straight. You're the one behind all the incidents lately, aren't you? You must be the one chosen to duel? The green-haired beauty frowned, ignoring his question and glancing at Zane and Hikaru. At the very least, pick someone more pleasant to look at. Ha! No way I'm letting someone like you sully the lady's eyes. The lady! I am the vampire Camula, she suddenly screeched, her face grotesquely enlarging and her tongue slithering out like a snake. Come, human. If you wish to disturb the lady's slumber, then first you must face me in a duel. If you lose, surrender a handsome boy to the island. If I lose, I'll release the students I bit and left unconscious. Oomph, gladly. No more words were needed. In front of all the students, they activated their duel discs and began an intense duel. Meanwhile, Hikaru stood to the side, utterly confused. Wait a minute, this Camula isn't even a shadow rider. Chapter 45, Light Dispels Darkness. Some time later. Surrounded by several vampires, Camula wore a smug expression, half her face split open, letting out a sinister giggle. Camula, LP, 2800. On her field were a vampire sorcerer with a 1700 ATK, a castle of dark illusions with 1000 ATK, and a vampire genesis with 3200 ATK. On the other side, Professor Growler had only an ancient gear golem with 3000 ATK and one set card. Originally, Vampire Genesis's ATK should have been equal to that of the ancient gear golem, but with Castle of Dark Illusions on the field, all zombie-type monsters gained 200 ATK, tipping the scales against Growler. Professor Growler, LP, 100. Oh ho ho ho, your life points are hanging by a thread. No hand, only a single set card on the field. What could you possibly do? Camula pressed her hand to her cheek in a noblewoman's laugh, saying, to be honest, I'd still rather bully those two handsome boys beside you. If you want to swap out, I wouldn't mind letting the others proceed to the castle. Professor Growler struggled to stand. The pain of a shadow duel was far worse than he'd imagined, especially the stabbing sensation all over his body, like being pricked with needles. Don't be ridiculous. Growler clenched his fist and shouted, they're my most important students. I won't let you lay a finger on them. Professor Growler. Zane stepped forward in concern. Hikaru clenched his fists. You got this, Professor. I always believed in you. Growler turned back to look at his students, smiling. Besides, I am the actual highest authority at Duel Academy. I absolutely cannot condone shadow duels. But you're already severely injured. Chaz protested. Dueling is light, he smiled at Chaz. Watch me use a righteous duel to banish the darkness. TCH. Camula clicked her tongue. Whatever. Your life points are hanging by a thread. These fancy speeches should be left to the pretty boys. Battle. Vampire Genesis, attack. This ends it. I activate my set card. Negate attack. Your attack is stopped, and your battle phase forcibly ends. A futile struggle. Camula extended her long tongue like a demon, snarling, you have no cards in hand, only one monster on the field. What else could you do? I have a way. Growler raised his hand to the duel disc on his chest and said, there is one method. What? Chaz asked in shock. What kind of method could possibly work now? I see. Zane crossed his arms and nodded slightly as if recalling something. Ah, I get it too. Alexis's eyes lit up, and she looked at Hikaru. Oh. Jaden suddenly grew excited. Cyrus and Hasselberry looked at each other, realizing it as well. What? What are you all talking about? Chaz felt completely left out. It's fusion, Bastion kindly explained. If he draws that Ancient Gear Fusion card. Ancient Gear Fusion? Camula frowned. Never heard of it. Hikaru observed silently. He had watched the entire duel, and one particular thing caught his eyes. No bats flying around spying. Camula is actually playing fair. In the original, she used bats to spy on her opponent's decks and hands. He hadn't expected this Camula to have such sportsmanship. A shame, truly. Hikaru sighed inwardly. If she hadn't been fair, they'd already be inside the castle. Even if you have such a card, can you actually draw it? Growler smiled confidently. I can. I absolutely can. The dual disc automatically ejected a card. He gently pulled it out and smiled. During this time, he learned a lot from his students. He realized his past mistakes, came to believe in supernatural forces, and this deepened his understanding of his responsibilities. His previous attitude toward Jaden and the students of other dorms had been too wrong. It wasn't until he met Hikaru and saw new possibilities through his efforts that he finally understood. Students shouldn't be suppressed with malice but understood and guided. This card was a symbol of that new possibility. I activate the spell card, Ancient Gear Fusion. This card is a fusion spell specifically for ancient gear monsters. But you don't have the materials to fusion summon. Growler wagged his finger in front of her, such foolishness. Fitting for a relic of the Middle Ages. As Hikaru says, fusion is the noblest form of summoning. Ancient Gear Fusion allows me to use monsters from the deck as materials when fusing an Ancient Gear Golem on the field. What? You're amazing, Professor. Jaden cheered. Watch closely, everyone. With a noble duel, defeat the darkness. I fusion summon. Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem. Rumble. The giant mechanical warrior rose from the ground, its mighty steel arms seemingly able to crush any foe. ATK, 4400. Camula stared at the monster in shock and stumbled back. Battle. Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem, attack the Castle of Dark Illusions. Ultimate Crush. AOF. Camula LP, 2800 0. Now you see the strength of Duel Academy's highest authority. Growler stood proudly, fists on hips. But isn't the highest authority the principal? Cyrus asked, missing the mood. We can talk about that later. Jaden looked skyward. On the other side, Camula staggered up with the help of a few vampire maids. She looked at Growler, huffed in frustration, and said, "Fine, not a looker, but your words were stylish enough. You may be worthy of meeting the young lady." Huh? Growler asked. Wait, isn't this over? Aren't you one of the Shadow Riders? Professor, she never said that. Bastion wiped sweat from his brow. Mamma mia. Then all that damage I took, Growler screamed, clutching his face. His spirit compatibility was low, meaning he couldn't enter other dimensions alone. The damage from a shadow duel hit him far harder than the chosen students, and just standing was difficult now. One more duel, and he'd probably faint halfway through. Still, he had to stand. Professor Growler. Zane quickly moved to his side, supporting him. Please wait. Your body can't endure another duel. But let me handle it, Zane said solemnly. The fledglings must eventually leave the eagle's nest. You're our role model. We'll defeat the darkness and bring light to the academy. That's right, Professor. Hikaru nodded gently at his side. Leave it to us. Looking at Hikaru, Growler smiled warmly. You're right. He trusted Hikaru. After all, he had survived in the other dimension and even defeated the darkness alone. In Growler's eyes, Hikaru was among the most outstanding first-year students, just like Zane. Geez, why didn't you just say that sooner? Camula muttered, annoyed. Made me take a punch for nothing. Hey, don't forget to wake up my students. Growler yelled as she turned. Yeah, she replied, uninterested. She waved over a maid and ordered her to handle it. When you meet the young lady, show some respect. She led the remaining students onto the red carpet, walking into the manor. All the curtains on the mansion's windows were tightly shut. Whoa! As everyone looked around in awe, soft breathing and gentle footsteps echoed. A beautiful girl with bat wings on her back, burgundy eyes, and dull golden hair descended slowly from the second floor of the manor, holding a parasol. Ah! Chaz, Cyrus, and the others stared in a daze, making Alexis's forehead twitch in irritation. So you've arrived? The girl yawned as if she'd just awakened. Then, hand over the key. There's no way we're handing it over, Zane retorted. She tilted her head in thought. You're going to lose anyway. We haven't even dueled yet. How do you know we'll lose? Jaden shouted. Is that so? Her eyes gleamed red as a large bat flew in, landing beside her and transforming into a tall, silver-haired female vampire who knelt before her. Gathering them one by one is too slow. You mean? Hikaru realized her intent and immediately stepped forward to take position. In that case, tag duel it is. She gently closed her parasol, pressed a hidden switch, and it transformed into a dual disc shaped like bat wings. Let's end this quickly. Chapter 46, Fräulein. I'll go. No, let me. Jaden, I promised Professor Growler, this duel should be mine. Zane, Hikaru, and I have tag duel experience. I'm more suited to be his partner. Ah. While Zane and Jaden argued, Fräulein yawned and lazily tugged the curtain. Moonlight seeped into the manor, making her seem even more sluggish. So none of you thought about both of you going together? Alexis sighed. Hikaru just got out of the hospital a few days ago. But he already stepped forward. Jaden scratched his head. Yeah. Zane nodded. Since he had already stepped up, they couldn't exactly pull him back now. Ugh, that's what I mean when I say duel-obsessed boys are so hard-headed. Alexis looked even more exasperated. Jaden, no matter what, Professor Growler entrusted this to me. I must take responsibility, just like he did, Zane said seriously. Jaden hesitated, but in the end, he couldn't argue with Zane and stepped aside. Ever since Hikaru's injury and hospitalization, Jaden had been deeply worried that shadow duels could hurt his friends. Seeing Growler barely able to stand today despite winning confirmed that fear. Even though his spirit affinity was only 4 stars, Banner once told him his spirit power far exceeded the norm. Even in a shadow duel, he'd bounce right back. So, he felt it was his duty to protect his classmates. Still, he couldn't ignore the professor's last request. Maybe he'd wait and see. Have you decided? Yes, Zane replied. Then I shall explain the rules of the shadow duel. Camula cheerfully assumed the role of referee. This will be a 2v2 tag duel. In the first turn, you cannot attack. From the second turn onward, attacks are allowed. Teammates share one monster zone, spell/trap zone, graveyard, and banished zone. Only the current turn duelist's deck may be used. Both teams start with 8,000 life points. Turn order: Lady Vamp, Blue Cutie, Lady Fräulein, Purple Cutie. The losing team's souls will be sealed into cards. Any objections? Everyone nodded. Only Hikaru shivered slightly at the Purple Cutie comment. Gross. Good luck, Hikaru, Zane. Jaden cheered. Then duel. ×3. Vampire Team, LP, 8,000. Blue-Purple Team, LP, 8,000. I'll take the first turn. The silver-haired vampire swiftly drew a card. Oof, I activate the continuous spell, Vampire's Domain. Once per turn, I can pay 500 LP to normal summon a vampire monster in addition to my normal summon. I normal summon Vampire Lady, then tribute her to tribute summon Vampire Dragon. A sinister dragon with a single eye and bat wings flew out from the castle's shadows. Vampire Dragon, level 5 DRK Zombie 2400 ATK. Vampire Team, LP, 8,000 7,500. 2,400 attack? That's nothing for my brother. Cyrus confidently boasted. I end my turn. My turn, Drawl Zane drew and immediately revealed his hand. I special summon, Cyber Dragon. There it is. Cyber Dragon. Hikaru nodded repeatedly. He'd never forget that line, forget all the meta stuff, play the unbeatable Zane-style Cyber deck. The most stylish fusion deck around. Cyber Dragon, level 5 Light Machine 80k 2100. Then I activate the effect of Cyber Dragon Veer in my hand. When I successfully summon or special summon Cyber Dragon, I can special summon Veer in defense position. A small purple jointed Cyber Dragon shot out of his hand. While Veer is on the field, all Cyber Dragons I control gain 500 attack and defense. Cyber Dragon, ATK, 2100-2600. Cyber Dragon Veer, Def, 1600-2100. Nice. It's stronger than Vampire Dragon now. Battle. Cyber Dragon, Attack Vampire Dragon, Evolution Burst. The mechanical dragon fired a blast of white flame, vaporizing the undead dragon. Vampire Team, LP, 7500-7300. When Vampire Dragon is sent to the graveyard after a tribute summon, I can add a level 4 or lower monster from my deck to my hand. Vamp revealed the effect, then searched her deck. I add Gazuki. So she can special summon a zombie monster. Zane, being top of his class, recognized the card instantly. I set 2 cards and end my turn. Looks like nothing special. Cyrus cheered. My brothers got this. Cyrus. Jaden scolded with a rare frown. The duel just started. That creepy vampire lady hasn't even played yet. He, that's right. You haven't seen Lady Fräulein's power yet. How can you be so confident? Camula laughed. Fräulein yawned, drew a card, and let her duel disc unfold. I activate the field spell, Vampire Kingdom. With a tremendous rumble, the surroundings became distorted. As the students looked on in shock, Gothic clock towers, castles, and graveyards rose from the ground, bathed in blood-red light and mist. A blood moon hung high in the sky. What is this card? Zane exclaimed. As a top student, it was rare for him not to recognize a card. During Growler and Camula's duel, he knew every vampire card she played. But this one? Careful, Zane! Hikaru shouted. While Vampire Kingdom is active, all zombie monsters gain 500 ATK during battle. Not only that, if one of our cards is sent to the graveyard from the deck, they can send a vampire from their deck to destroy one of our cards. That effect is strong. Zane was even more shocked. In their era, gaining a few hundred ATK was already a big deal, let alone destruction effects on top. I normal summon Vampire Lady. Ha ha ha. Vampire Lady, previously tribute, reappeared, flying into the duel field. Vampire Lady, level 4 DRK Zombie 1550 ATK. Battle. Attack Cyber Dragon. What? Everyone but Hikaru shouted. Attacking a 2600 ATK Cyber Dragon with 1550 ATK Vampire Lady. She must not know how to duel. Fräulein glanced sideways at Cyrus, then pulled a card from her hand. During the attack declaration, I activate my effect, special summon myself in defense position. Yourself. She revealed a card from her hand and placed it on the duel disc. With a flap of her wings, she flew into the monster zone herself. Most students had never seen anything like this. But they had to admit, up close, she was stunning. So cute. Cyrus muttered with a dreamy look. Vampire Fräulein, level 5 DRK Zombie 2000 Def. My effect lets me special summon myself in defense position during an attack declaration. Next, Vampire Lady attacks Cyber Dragon, and I activate my own effect again, pay 3000 LP. 3000. Ha! To duelists used to 4000 LP, this was nearly suicide. Vampire Team, LP, 7300-4300. According to my effect, zombie monsters gain ATK equal to the LP paid, up to 3000. She bit her finger delicately, flicking some blood onto the green-haired Vampire Lady. Vampire Lady, ATK, 1550 20 55,050. F5000. Shaz nearly fell over. It's stronger than my brother's Cyber and Dragon. Empowered by the Fräulein's blood, Vamp Lady roared with new strength and leapt forward, slashing through Cyber Dragon. Ah! Crimson blades of blood pierced through Hikaru and Zane, leaving wounds and forcing them back. Blue-purple team, LP, 8000 5550. Meanwhile, Vampire's domain's effect restores LP equal to the damage dealt. Vampire team, LP, 4300 6750. Vampire Lady's effect activates after dealing damage. I declare monster, spell, or trap. You must discard one of that type from your deck. I choose monster. Ugh. Zane paled, recalling Hikaru's earlier explanation. I send Proto-Cyber Dragon to the graveyard. Then, Vampire Kingdom's effect. The Fräulein flapped her wings. I send Vampire Sorcerer from my deck to destroy your set card on the right. A giant blood moon glowed ominously as a red beam shot down and blew the set card apart. It was Monster Reborn. Clearly prepared for Hikaru's use. So strong. Cyrus swallowed hard. That beautiful, elegant face now looked more like a devil's. And maybe Dark Magician Girl is still the best. Wait, what am I thinking? He slapped his cheeks and turned back to Zane. The enemy was far too powerful. Could Zane and Hikaru really win? Hikaru took a deep breath. Of course. When he heard the words Lady Fräulein, he knew this would happen. Unlike Darkness's meddling clone, this Vampire Fräulein was clearly a powerful dual spirit from another dimension, an expert duelist. But, trying to outpower cyber dragons, huh? Just wait, my deck has also been upgraded. Chapter 47, When Fusion Fights Back. Before the turn ends, I activate this continuous spell, Blockout Curtain. A green-bordered spell card appeared on Vampire Fräulein's field. Its artwork showed her yawning while gently drawing a curtain, surrounded by swarms of bats, blocking out the moonlight. Elegant yet playful, just like Vampire Fräulein herself. Turn end. See now? You're not even on the same level as the Lady Fräulein. She's from the Vampire Diamonds. Camula? Fräulein called softly. Ah, I know. Camula caught herself and quickly shut up. Though honestly, she didn't even need to say it. Some sharp minds in the crowd had probably already figured it out. If a dual spirit is dueling in person, there's a 99% chance they're a spirit from another dimension. My turn. Draw. Hikaru glanced over his hand, his expression contemplative. This is bad. Bastion, focused entirely on the duel and not at all on Fräulein's looks, suddenly spoke up. Ha? Bastion, what's wrong? Jaden and Chaz quickly asked. Everyone knows Hikaru's deck is a fusion-focused build that uses spell and trap support with minimal fusion materials. The others nodded. To maximize those few fusion materials, Hikaru's go to continuous spells are Flame Swords Realm and Future Fusion. Let's leave Flame Swords Realm aside, but Future Fusion requires sending monsters from the deck to the graveyard. Same goes for that scatter fusion Alexis saw earlier. So what? Jaden asked. Ah. Chaz gasped. Vampire Kingdom. Exactly. Because Vampire Kingdom is in play, Hikaru's fusion plays are heavily restricted. Then what now? My brother can't take them on alone. Don't panic, Cyrus. Hikaru will think of something. Hikaru finished scanning his hand. A plan was forming in his mind. I activate the continuous spell, Future Fusion. Ah! I told you not to use Future Fusion. Cyrus cried from the stands. Zane likewise looked puzzled by Hikaru's move. I activate Future Fusion's effect. I reveal Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem from my extra deck and send Ancient Gear Golem from my deck to the graveyard. Zane's pupils narrowed. Ancient Gear Golem. Your friends were warning you, you know? Fräulein opened her deck with confusion. I activate Vampire Kingdom's effect. I send Vampire Vamp from my deck to the graveyard and destroy your Future Fusion. Ha! That annoying golem won't be coming out now. Camula, still bitter about being punched by it last duel, laughed with glee as Future Fusion was destroyed. Then I activate the continuous spell, Brilliant Fusion. When this card is activated, I send Gemknight fusion materials from my deck to the graveyard, reduce my fusion monster's ATK/def to 0, then fusion summon it from the extra deck. If this card leaves the field, that monster is destroyed. I send Gemknight Crystal and Thunder Dragon from my deck to the graveyard to fusion summon Gemknight Prism Aura. Gemknight Prism Aura, level 7 Earth Thunder 1400 def. Ha! Cyrus blinked, too stunned to form words. Strange, why? Chaz furrowed his brow. Two things don't make sense. Vampire Kingdom's effect only activates once per turn, Hikaru explained. And it's mandatory. That means if I send cards from my deck to the graveyard, it has to trigger and destroy something. So I just had it destroy the first one. Fräulein looked up slightly, her eyes glowing faint red as she examined Hikaru. I get it now. Bastion punched the air in excitement. Prismora's effect lets you discard a Gemknight card to destroy one face-up card on the field. You can take out Vampire Kingdom, Vampire's Domain, or even Vampire Fräulein herself. If only it were that simple. Hikaru sighed inwardly. I activate Gemknight Prismora's effect. I discard Gemknight Fusion from my hand to destroy Vampire Kingdom. Captain Crystal raised his lance, charging it with energy like a laser cannon, and fired a white beam. No, you don't. Fräulein thrust out her hand. Bats swarmed and formed a giant curtain. Block out curtain's effect. I send it to the graveyard to prevent the destruction of one card I control. The light beam struck the curtain, rippling uselessly. No way. Cyrus's spark of hope quickly faded. Even Hikaru didn't recognize that card. Bastion shook his head. If his plan worked, first forcing the destruction, then summoning Prism Aura to destroy Vampire Kingdom, their situation would have been a lot better. Hikaru set 2 cards and glanced at Zane. Zane blinked in surprise. Turn end. Zane had a hunch, Hikaru was trying to signal him. If Vampire Kingdom's trigger was guaranteed, then why did Hikaru choose to send Ancient Gear Golem to the graveyard? He had other options, like Ancient Gear Cannon. Sending a fusion material like Ancient Gear Golem seemed wasteful. Unless... Zane realized something. Hikaru is the Fusion Club rep, after all. A smile tugged at his lips. Didn't expect you to be smiling in this situation, Vamp chuckled. My turn. I normal summon Gazuki. The monster Vampire Vamp had fetched earlier now hit the field. Then I activate Gazuki's effect, send myself to the graveyard. Next, I activate Monster Reborn to revive myself. Vampire Vamp, level 70 RK Zombie 2000 ATK. She flapped her wings, ready to fly onto the field like Fräulein, but just then, Hikaru flipped a card. Trap card activate, Flame Swords Dance. When a monster is special summoned, I can special summon a Flame Swordsman or a level 7 or lower fusion monster with its name listed from my extra deck in defense position. I special summon Dark Flare Knight. Then, Flame Sword Dance's effect flips Vampire Vamp face down in defense position. Startled, Vamp froze mid-flight, dropping face down onto the field without complaint. She didn't want to get buried in the duel arena either. TCH, pathetic resistance. Gazuki, attack Dark Flare Knight. Vampire Lady, attack Prism Aura. She didn't dare switch Fräulein to attack position. With only 600 ATK, commanding her to change battle modes was unthinkable. I set a card. Turn end. It's your turn. Stop struggling already, it's almost time for the Lady Fräulein's nap. This is bad, even though they survived the turn, the field is full of zombies. With Fräulein present, every monster becomes almost unbeatable. Bastion frowned deeply. Aw, bro. Cyrus clawed at his hair. Come on. Zane, Hikaru. Oomph, naive. Ridiculous. On stage, Zane grinned. Hikaru, thank you for protecting my Cyber Dragonveer. I understand what you were trying to do. And now I'll use the card you left for me. My turn. Drawl. At this moment, I activate the trap, Cybernetic Revolution. Cybernetic Revolution? What's that card? I think Hikaru left it behind. I tribute a face-up Cyber Dragon to activate it. I special summon a fusion monster from my extra deck that lists Cyber Dragon as material. Here we go. Zane flashed a confident smile. My partner, Cyber End Dragon. Chapter 48, 5 consecutive fights. It's Cyber End Dragon, my brother's ace monster. Cyber End Dragon, level 10 light machine 4000 ATK. It was a colossal mechanical dragon with 3 heads, each glowing with bright electricity. On top of its usually sleek body, wings had emerged, giving it a more balanced and powerful appearance. Only 4000 ATK? Vamp scoffed, spreading her arms with a smirk. With the mistress on the field, 4000 is nothing. Is that so? Humph, quick play spell, limiter removal. Zane immediately revealed the card in his hand. This spell doubles the ATK of all machine monsters I control. Nice one. Bastion immediately said from the stands. Cyber End Dragon will now have 8000 ATK. Even if Vampire Fräulein boosts her def by 3000, that'll only be 5000, she can't withstand the attack and won't be able to absorb LP like vampires usually do. Plus, Cyber End Dragon inflicts piercing damage. Even in defense position, she'll take the hit. If she loses 6000 LP, even if Vampire Fräulein revives, she won't have the upper hand anymore. So you're saying my brother and Amagi can win? Cyrus asked excitedly. Bastion shook his head. Powerful cards come with risks. After limiter removal's effect ends, Cyber End Dragon will be destroyed. Battle. Cyber End Dragon, attack Vampire Fräulein. I won't let you hurt the mistress. Vamp snapped, activating her facedown card. Trap card Wabaku. This turn, our monsters can't be destroyed by battle, and we take no battle damage. She flew out, emitting a sinister black aura, shielding Vampire Fräulein from the dragon's white-hot breath. Ah! No way, Gah! Cyrus shut his eyes. It's over. Zane's monster will be destroyed now. Even Cyber End Dragon can't break through? How strong is this Vampire Fräulein? Looks like we're up next, Jaden, Chaz muttered with a sigh. No. Jaden stared intently at the field, shaking his head. Zane and Hikaru haven't given up. Even if they haven't, this field situation. Ha! Zane chuckled, completely unfazed by the failed attack, as if everything was going exactly as planned. I set one card and end my turn. Now, your monster will be destroyed. Vamp shouted. It's fine. That destruction is only the prelude to reunion, Zane replied calmly. Ah, no. My brother's field is empty now. My turn. Vampire Fräulein drew a card. She frowned. Something felt off. I flip summon Vampire Vamp. Vamp finally got to stand beside the mistress and quickly flew to her side. Then, Kazuki's effect, once per turn during the main phase, I send a zombie monster from the deck to the GY. I send Vampire Grace. Next, spell card Book of Life. I banish your Cyber End Dragon from the GY and special summon Vampire Grace. She followed her instincts. Vampire Grace, level 60 RK zombie type 2000 ATK. Vampire Grace's effect activates once per turn. I declare a card type. Your deck sends one of that type to the GY. I declare, spell. Polymerization, Zane declared, sending a spell card from his deck. Weird, why not a monster this time? Bastion murmured. Now, Vampire Kingdom's effect activates. Vampire Fräulein raised her hand. A thick mist enveloped the area as her crimson eyes glowed eerily. I activate my trap, Threatening Roar. Zane flipped his facedown card. You can't declare attacks this turn. Then I send Vampire Baby from my deck to the GY and destroy your last facedown card. With a cracking noise, a red glow shattered Zane's facedown, another polymerization spell. One monster reborn, one polymerization, Zane really had his teammate in mind, Bastion nodded. But the combo of Vampire Kingdom, Vampire's Domain, and Vampire Fräulein is too terrifying. Camula cackled, her tongue unfurling. You're finished. How can you win now? Vampire Fräulein, however, seemed uneasy. She could feel it, she'd been tricked. She just didn't know how. Fräulein glanced at the smugly grinning Camula and sighed inwardly. Maybe the decision to dual tag team was a mistake. Turn end. This is it, Bastion whispered, swallowing. Everyone knew. If they couldn't turn the game around now, Zane and Amagi would lose. 5 zombies on their field. Even Alexis looked uneasy at the sight, and they were real vampires. You might as well surrender, my lovelies, Camula said sweetly. If we surrender, does that count as only half a loss? Cyrus asked. Cyrus. Jaden snapped. Cyrus, Zane sighed. Watch carefully, this duel between Hikaru and me. This turn, we end this Hikaru, just like we planned. Yeah, leave it to me. Hikaru drew his card. Zane, perfect in every way. As a senior, he guided Jaden. As a friend, he searched for Atticus for a year. As a student, he fulfilled his teacher's hopes. As a duelist, he was the Academy's best. And yet, despite all that glory, he had a little brother. The only flaw in Zane's perfection was Cyrus. Hikaru looked at his hand and revealed the card he drew. I activate the spell, Fusion Deployment. I reveal Labyrinth Tank from the extra deck and special summon Cannon Soldier from my deck. Then, I activate Cannon Soldier's effect. I tribute itself to inflict 500 damage. Vampire Fräulein blocked with her left arm, her expression unchanged. Vampire Team, LP, 6756,250. Meh, that did nothing. What's the point of that? Camula said. Heh. Zane chuckled. You've got a lot to learn about real duelists. Ha? Ah. Don't tell me. Jaden's eyes lit up. From turn 2, Hikaru, Zane, you planned this. Zane nodded. Ever since that ancient gear golem, he saw it coming. That's why he built this moment for Hikaru. Hikaru wasn't a duelist who made moves for no reason, and he even set cybernetic revolution. Exactly. Hikaru revealed his card. Spell card, Overload Fusion. Overload Fusion. This lets me banish fusion materials from my field and GY to fusion summon a Dark Machine fusion monster. I banish Proto-Cyber Dragon, Cyber Dragonveer, Cyber Dragon, Ancient Gear Golem, and Cannon Soldier. Fusion Summon. Chimeratech over Dragon. A whirlwind of metal erupted from the GY, rapidly assembling into a massive mechadragon with 7 heads. Chimeratech over Dragon, level 9 DARK machine? ATK. When summoned, I must send all other cards I control to the GY. Hikaru sent Brilliant Fusion to the GY. It gains 800 attack and defense for each fusion material used. ATK, 4000. Same as Cyber and Dragon. Battle, Chimeratech over Dragon, attack Vampire Fräulein. What? They gasped. Even if its attack is 4000, it can't beat Vampire Fräulein. Cyrus cried out. I activate my effect, pay 3000 LP. Vampire Team, LP, 6253,250. Vampire Fräulein, Def, 5000-5000. The mechanical dragon's blazing metal breath was casually deflected by Fräulein's dress. Hikaru took battle damage, staggering as he lost LP. Blue-Purple Team, LP, 55-54,550. Vampire Team, LP, 32-54,250. It's useless. Chimeratech over Dragon can attack as many times as the number of fusion materials used. Hikaru said, despite bleeding. Second attack on Vampire Fräulein. I pay 3000 LP again. What's the point? Cyrus yelled. No, Cyrus, they've won. Jaden exclaimed. Ha! Bastion said, to protect herself, Fräulein pays 3000 LP and recovers 1000. losing at least 2000 LP each time. They started with 6250 LP, at most, they can do it 3 times. After that, they'll only have 250 LP left. Actually, if Fräulein hadn't banished Cyber End Dragon earlier, Hikaru and Zane might have won even easier, Bastion added, shaking his head. They could still try sacrificing Fräulein to survive, but it looks like they won't. Fräulein seemed to realize this too, but she didn't regret it. She raised her chin slightly, finally understanding what had felt off before. What a fun duel. I underestimated you. Triple attack, go, Chimeratech over Dragon. I pay 2100 LP. This time, Fräulein couldn't easily brush it off. She gritted her teeth and held her ground. That was her pride. Fourth attack. Fräulein was finally blown back, landing on the second-floor dueling platform of the castle. Fifth attack. Final strike, Chimeratech over Dragon, attack Vampire Vamp. End this. Vamp jumped in front of Fräulein, shielding her from the final blast. The battlefield faded, leaving only their silhouettes. Ding! Vampire Team, LP, 0. Winners, Zane and Hikaru Team. Chapter 49, Dimensional Crisis. Beautiful, a perfect finish. So cool, Hikaru, Kaiser. The battle over, Hikaru let out a breath of relief. Suddenly, his body gave out, and he nearly collapsed, only to be quickly caught by Zane beside him. They had mostly been on the defensive, only managing a proper counterattack in the final turn. But to execute that combo, Hikaru had crashed into Vampire Fräulein 3 times, and the bloody counter damage left wounds all over his body. It was no wonder he couldn't stand steadily. An impressive duel. Across the stage, Vampire Fräulein's dual disc detached from her arm, slowly transforming midair until it returned to the form of a parasol. She gently caught it, propping it over her shoulder to shield herself from the moonlight. I underestimated you, warriors of humanity. Her earlier arrogance hadn't been baseless. After becoming one of the 7 stars, she had secretly observed the duels of the Academy students. Her rough evaluation had led her to believe their skills were sorely lacking, so lacking, in fact, that even the lower-ranked vampires of the Vampire Kingdom could probably defeat them. From her perspective, she alone should have sufficed. She hadn't expected the vast difference in skill between students. If given another chance, Fräulein certainly wouldn't recklessly enter a tag duel with just a minion. No way, impossible. There's no way the mistress could. Camula's expression twisted, looking ready to resort to violence. Camula, Vampire Fräulein shook her head, enough. That's enough. Since we lost in the sacred ritual of dueling, we must honor the agreement. Don't worry. I'll find another way to revive your kin. As a dual monster spirit, Fräulein would never deny the outcome of a duel. As she spoke, her body began to turn into golden particles. Her broken form, already as delicate as porcelain, now looked even more elegant. Very well, then. Wait. Hikaru noticed her fading and quickly interrupted, raising his voice, wait. Miss Vampire. What is it, warrior of humanity? She asked with a yawn. I'm about to fall into a long overdue slumber. Is it important? The rules of the shadow game dictated that the loser would be sealed in a card. Though Fräulein was a card spirit, and being sealed wouldn't harm her, she would still sleep for some time. But Hikaru wanted to ask something before that happened. Miss Vampire, you don't seem like someone evil. Why did you become a member of the 7 stars? Why are you trying to obtain the sacred beast seal keys? Ah! Only now did the others realize that was indeed a significant question. Hikaru remembered that in the original story, Camula had become a 7-star because her fellow vampires were hunted by humans, leaving her the last of her kind. She sought the power of the sacred beasts to destroy humanity and resurrect her kin. But Vampire Fräulein was a dual spirit, and the resurrection of the sacred beasts shouldn't be a good thing for her. So you didn't know, Fräulein said, showing a bit more interest. Very well. Camula, explain it to them. In the next instant, her form completely dissolved into particles, becoming a card one of her vampire servants reverently caught and tucked away. Simultaneously, the world seemed to dim as if her departure drained the moonlight of its luster. Another card, Vamps, floated toward Hikaru and Zane. Hikaru caught it between his fingers. Along with it came a non-spirit version of Vampire Fräulein's card. Chaz muttered, a little disappointed. That pretty girl card won't be showing up again. Still, it was just a fleeting sentiment. Lately, he wasn't too keen on spirits. Camula, on the other hand, glared at them, looking like she wanted to lash out. But after a long internal struggle, she finally opened her mouth. From her explanation, they learned the truth: Vampire Fräulein wasn't an ordinary dual spirit. She was the ruler, or rather, the acting regent of the alternate dimension vampire kingdom. The real sovereign, Lord Zompire, had gone missing during a great upheaval. Apparently, countless years ago, the spirit world had been thrown into chaos by a terrifying civil war. The destruction caused by that conflict fractured the spirit realms, scattering them into different worlds. Although communication between dimensions still existed, Lightsworns and Dark Worlds remained enemies across realms, and Mermails continued their drawn-out war with Fire Kings. Overall, contact between different factions and races had greatly diminished. A few years ago, the Vampire Kingdom, hidden deep in darkness, was suddenly attacked by an unknown force, pushing their dimension to the brink of collapse. Lord Zompire, their strongest spirit, personally set out to investigate, only to vanish without a trace. Their world grew increasingly unstable, and they were eventually forced to fragment their reality into broken dimensions to stave off destruction and protect their kin. Ah, I remember now, Lord Hikaru. White Crystal Captain appeared beside Hikaru, drawing Jaden's attention and startling Chaz. Hikaru has a spirit too? My world also seemed to suffer an invasion once, but only briefly, White Crystal said hesitantly. Indeed, even if a true villain looked into the DT spirit world, they probably wouldn't be interested. No big deal, they'd self-destruct anyway. After that, the mistress began dimensional exploration, searching for Lord Zompire and a way to protect the vampires. Then, she met me. Camula's expression softened, showing rare emotion. Though I'd lost my kin and was astray, the mistress never cared about my origins and offered me protection. When she heard about the sacred beasts, as a spirit born from darkness, she immediately decided to help me, hoping to use the sacred beast's power to uncover the truth of her world. But alas, she shook her head. I didn't expect her to be such a good spirit. Syra sniffled, moved. She was so cute, of course, she was good. A spirit, huh? Chaz frowned. One-sided, if you ask me. Hikaru shook his head. Yes, she was doing it for her people. But she let Camula send out bats to knock out students and tried to summon the sacred beasts for her world's sake. To humans and spirits of this world, it was a disaster. She had principles, but not too many. Still, that was expected. She was a spirit, after all. Humans, even if you've defeated the mistress, don't think you can relax. Camula fixed her gaze on Hikaru and Zane. You humans, dabbling in dimensional travel without preparation, have opened Pandora's box. You've unleashed horrors, making your world increasingly dangerous. One day, you'll pay the price in blood. With those final words, Hikaru and the others found themselves back at the lake. The mansion, cloaked in mist, slowly faded from view as if it had never existed. It seemed they had returned to their own dimension. In the air, only one final lazy whisper lingered in their ears. Warriors of humanity, should you get the chance, feel free to visit our dimension. I would gladly welcome you as guests. Chapter 50, How Come I Didn't Know? Camula mentioned an entity that invaded the spirit world, but Hikaru had no clue what that might be. After all, in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Universe, while there aren't that many beings capable of such feats, each one that is a terrifying force beyond comprehension. Like, what if that unknown entity she spoke of was actually Yubel? In this world, Jaden hadn't launched his card into space. Instead, it had been sent to another dimension. It wouldn't be strange if Yubel had received some kind of power-up and was now stirring up chaos in the spirit world just to see Jaden again. Hikaru wouldn't put that kind of move past Yubel. But the real issue was, I can't even picture what it would look like to defeat Yubel. Before he came to this world, the mere sight of Spirit of Yubel, a fusion monster that didn't even require a fusion spell or any action beyond revealing itself with 0 ATK and DF, had left a lasting trauma on Hikaru. All he could say was, fusion is the noblest summoning method. And if he ever had to face that version of Yubel head-on, forget dueling, he might as well fire off super polymerization and pray. In fact, in the original story, Jaden had been completely overwhelmed by Yubel and had only resolved things by forcibly fusing with her using super polymerization. Looking at the power scaling and card strength in this world, it shouldn't come to that. But Hikaru still felt a bit uneasy because Yubel's schemes were top tier even by Yu-Gi-Oh! GX standards. After the duel with Vampire Fräulein concluded, the students immediately escorted Zane and Hikaru back to the infirmary. Though Zane hadn't fought all out, he was still injured and needed treatment. Hikaru, having pulled a suicide charging maneuver, had taken quite a few hits himself. While not as bad as his last brush with darkness, he still needed proper first aid. On the way, Hikaru paid a quick visit to Professor Growler. The guy seemed back to his usual self, proudly basking in praise from his students, occasionally sneaking in humble brags about his own awesomeness. Seeing Growler being his usual dramatic, image-conscious self reassured Hikaru. Later, Hikaru took some time to inspect his deck. Originally, after Chaz defeated the Dark Scorpion burglars, their dual spirits stuck around to tag along with him. But in this world, there was no way the vampires would let their Empire's second-in-command go off to play dual spirits, so all Hikaru got were Camula and Fräulein's cards, no Vampire Fräulein spirit. Zane wasn't interested in the cards, so he handed them over to Hikaru. One noteworthy detail was that Fräulein's card had a strange three-dimensional model on it. Hikaru guessed it might be a coordinate marker for the vampire dimension. Honestly, even though her effects cost life points, Vampire Fräulein was a very handy card in this era. Unfortunately, with how ridiculously few fusion monsters exist for zombies, Hikaru couldn't build a proper deck around her yet. Maybe someday, if he had the power and confidence, he'd visit the vampire dimension again. He wasn't especially interested in female dual spirits, but he didn't want to see Fräulein turned into some skeletal dragon or an undead warrior card. As he thoroughly reviewed his deck, he noticed a few cards had changed. Golden Land Forever? Hikaru had a general grasp on how super polymerization generated cards. It seemed to adapt based on his opponents and what he already had. So, getting a zombie-specific fusion made perfect sense. Still, back in his time, zombies only had like 7 fusion monsters total. And more importantly, he didn't even have Eldlik. Albeit, having this card did give him a bit more back row coverage, so he wasn't complaining. Wow, Master, the dual spirit in this card is seriously cool looking. The alchemist who lived inside his deck jumped out excitedly when he saw Hikaru studying it, eyes sparkling as he pointed at the golden monarch in the artwork. If you ever manage to refine real gold, you might just get to meet him. Keep working at it, Hikaru said, fully supportive. Eldlik the Mad Golden Lord was a powerhouse. If Hikaru could use him, he absolutely would. While Hikaru was fiddling with his cards and absorbing their presence, others at the top of the Fusion Club were discussing him. 2 Shadow Riders have already failed? Inside the Fusion Club director's office, Leo Akiba sat behind his desk, staring at a projection screen. He appeared to be in a video call. 2 faces were visible on the call. On the left was a massive stasis tank containing an elderly man with tubes and an oxygen mask, bubbles occasionally rising from his mouth. On the right was a figure in a cloak and mask, eyes glinting eerily gold, none other than Professor Banner. If Hikaru were here, he would have immediately recognized that masked man. Apologies, Banner said, bowing slightly. It seems the 2 Shadow Riders I chose couldn't live up to your expectations. I didn't anticipate the students would grow so strong so quickly. Lyman, I don't blame you, the elderly man's mechanical voice crackled, full of static. That unknown darkness aside, even that powerful dual spirit from another dimension was lost. I must say, I'm shocked myself. Above all, it was the same duelist involved both times. The old man looked visibly frustrated. In truth, he didn't care whether the Shadow Riders won or lost. The real issue was, why was it always the same person taking them on? May I interject? Leo spoke, fingers interlaced on the desk. Oh? What do you think, Dr. Akaba? Banner asked, curious. Both of those Shadow Rider duels involved the same student, Amaji Hikaru. And aside from him, Zane Truesdale also participated. And, the old man prompted. They are both disciples of Professor Growler. Banner tilted his head. Zane is Obelisk Blue's top student. Hikaru is a specialist in ancient gears, and he even has Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem, a card only Growler is supposed to possess. Clearly, they're Growler's hand-picked protégés. Wait, really? Banner asked, utterly confused. How come I didn't know that? Hikaru is my disciple. Mine. Lyman, you haven't interacted much with Growler, so you wouldn't know. That guy may look timid on the outside, but he's got layers of schemes underneath, Leo added. Huh? Banner leaned back in disbelief. No way. I've known Growler for years. I know exactly what kind of guy he is. I could wipe the floor with 10 of him at once. And Hikaru is my student. In short, Growler may have realized something. So he sent his disciples in to make sure no one else could interfere. I can't believe my school has such a competent professor, the old man mused. So, what are you suggesting? Let's use a method they can't refuse. Block them from engaging with the Shadow Riders for now. Leo, of course, had his own private motives for this plan. I see. As expected of you, Dr. Akaba. You're the scientist I value most. The old man blew another burst of bubbles, clearly pleased. One is Lyman, his most trusted alchemist. One is Leo Akaba, his most trusted scientist. With these two, he felt his dream of immortality was assured. Very well. I understand. I'll begin the arrangements for a dimensional exchange tournament, only accessible to top-ranking students. That wraps up this part of What If Fusion Deck User in a Different Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. Thanks so much for listening. As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well. See you in the next one.